Hi there, and thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be looking at our Chapter 8 test review. So let's go ahead and get started with number 1. The first one says find the area. So remember, for parallelograms, we're going to do base times height. So you're essentially just going to do 3 times 7, and that's going to give you an area of 21 centimeters squared. Number 2 is a triangle. Remember, for that one, your formula looks like this on your formula sheet: half of base times height, or you could simply do base times height divided by 2. So I'm going to do 8 times 4 divided by 2, and that's going to give me 16 feet squared. Number 3 is a little bit different. It almost could be a composite figure, so what I did for this one is just kind of cut it right here so you can see that there are two figures. This first one down here is a square and is 3 by 3, and the other one that you're seeing is a triangle. That one is going to be 3 by 2, because you notice this whole entire side is supposed to be 5, and this part right here is 3, so the leftover will be 2 for the triangle. To find the area of your square, you're just going to do 3 times 3, and that's going to give you 9. And then to find the area of your triangle, you're going to do 2 times 3 divided by 2. That's going to give you 3. Add them together, and you're going to get your answer of 12 meters squared. Number 4 is also a parallelogram. It's just flipped over on its side. So again, for your parallelogram, you're doing base times height. So that's 13 times 15, or 15 times 13, and you should get 195 inches squared. The next section, you're going to be working with circumference. Remember, circumference, you're doing either pi times diameter or 2 times pi times radius, whatever's given to you. Area is specifically, though, pi times radius squared. Okay. For number 5, I did 2 times 3.14 times 7, and that's going to give me 43.96 centimeters. For area, you're doing 3.14 times 7 times 7, and that's going to give us 153.86 centimeters squared. Okay. For numbers 7 and 8, you're using this one with the diameter of 30. So circumference, I'm going to use the pi times diameter. 3.14 times 30 is going to give us 94.2 feet. For area, you're going to be doing 3.14 times 15 times 15, because that's your radius. So hopefully you use 15 for that. And that one you should get 706.5 feet squared. Okay. Numbers 9 and 10, you're finding the perimeter and area of the semicircle. Remember, to find the perimeter, which is basically circumference, you're going to do pi times the diameter, and then divide it by 2, and then add back the diameter. Okay? If I did pi times diameter, that's going to give me 62.8, I think. Let's see. Yep, 62.8. And then divide that by 2 is 31.4. And then add 20. You're going to get 51.4 inches. For the area, remember, you're still using pi times radius squared. So 3.14 times 10 times 10. But then we have to divide that by 2. So you tuck that in your calculator and then divide it by 2. You're going to get 157 inches squared. Okay. Number 11, the top of a glass table is a circle. The circumference is 15.7. What's the radius? So maybe one thing you could start here is use the circumference formula that has radius in it. 2 times pi times radius. I know circumference is 15.7, so I'm just going to fill in what I know. 2 is equal to 2. Pi is equal to 3.14, and radius is our unsure. I'm going to go ahead and multiply 2 times 3.14, and that's going to give me 6.28. Still times radius will give me the 15.7, and then to solve it, I'm going to divide both sides by 6.28. So 15.7 divided by 6.28 is going to give us 2.5. And that'll be feet for radius. Okay? Flipping over on the back, you have your composite figure. It might have helped you to go ahead and fill in all these numbers. So you have 1 meter here, 2 meters on the top here, and 2 meters on the bottom over here. Your perimeter, you're just going to be adding all the sides. 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 is 16 meters. Okay, and then the next part, you're just finding your area. Something that I did here is I found the area of the whole entire rectangle first, 5 by 2, which is 10, and then I just cut out that 1 by 1. So I subtracted 1 from it and just got 9. So that might be a little bit easier for you as well. Some of you might have split it up into 3 shapes, but that's just an easier way that you can look at it. The next two, you're going to be finding the perimeter of this big figure. Again, filling in some numbers, you're missing just this 1 over here on the outside. What was easy first is to do 5 plus 5 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2. That's 10, 11, 12, 14, 16. But I still need to find the perimeter of that semicircle, so that should have been 3.14 times 4 divided by 2. So that's going to give us 6.28. So you're going to add 16 and 6.28 together, and that will give you 22.28. So that's going to be your perimeter for that first one in number 14. Okay, area is a little bit different. You're going to be finding the area of the rectangle, the triangle, and the semicircle. Let's maybe start with the rectangle. That might be easiest first. I have a 1 by 2, 6, 8. So that's going to give me 8 as my area. And then the triangle, it has the height of 3, and then the base of 8 again, because it's the same length as your rectangle. That'll be 8 times 3 divided by 2, which will give us 12. And then the last one is your semicircle. Your diameter is 4, so that means your radius is 2. So pi times radius squared will be 3.14 times 2, but then I have to divide it by 2 essentially. Okay, 3.14 times 2, and then cut it in half one more time. That's going to be 6.28. So you're just going to add all those numbers together. 6.28 plus 8 plus 12 gives you 26.28. And that is centimeters squared. Okay? 16, this is your 3-part question. It might have been easier to draw your 2 shapes. Okay? It says your rectangle is 5 feet wide by 10 feet long. The other is a circle with 8 feet as the diameter. And then it says find the perimeter or circumference of each table. With the rectangle, all you're doing is adding all of your outer sides. So 10 plus 10 and 5 plus 5 is going to give you 30 feet. For your perimeter or circumference of your circle, you're just doing 3.14 times diameter, which is 8, and that's going to give you 25.12 feet. For area, for rectangle, you're going to be doing base times height, so that'll give you 50 feet squared. For your circle, you're doing pi times radius squared, so that's 3.14 times 4 times 4. Hopefully you change that 8 to a 4. So 3.14 times 4 times 4 is going to give us 50.24. The next question says, which table can seat more people? And you should have said rectangle, because when you're seating people, they're sitting around the shape. They're sitting around the shape. So it's your higher perimeter. So rectangle, because it has a larger perimeter. Okay? The last one is a little tricky. It says the triangle and the trapezoid have the same area. So what's the length L of the triangle? Sorry about that. That was just a little interruption from the intercom. You first need to define the area of your trapezoid. Remember, area looks like this. Area is equal to 1/2 height, parentheses B1, plus b2. Another way we talked about that in the beginning of this chapter is we are going to add the bases together first, then multiply by the height, and then divide it by 2. So that would be 12 plus 10 times 7, and then dividing by 2. So 12 plus 10 is going to give us 22. So we're going to do 22 times 7, and that gives us 154, and then 154 divided by 2 is 77. So both of these areas need to be equal to 77. I know that for a triangle, I need to find the area by doing half of the base times height, or better yet, base times height divided by 2. Area needs to be equal to 77 though. I know that one of my numbers is given to me. The height is 7. So what I can do probably is maybe undo these two operations. I know the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. So I can do that. So 77 times 2, it gives me back to that 154. So b times 7 should give me 154. And then how to undo multiplying by 7 is dividing by 7. So 154 divided by 7, is going to give me 22. So 22 would be the base, or sorry, the length of the triangle. Again, if you wanted to check that, you could plug in 22 right here. Is 22 times 7 divided by 2 going to give you 77? Yes, it does. That's why we know our answer is correct. That's going to conclude our review. Thanks so much for tuning in, and good luck on your test.